Hi, I'm LadyJenevia, and today I'm talking about the Dickinson Season 2 premiere with spoilers. If you are new here, I will link a playlist to my other Dickinson Season 2 reviews up in a card. Also, feel free to subscribe if you want to keep up with the rest of my upcoming reviews for Season 2. If you are watching this video right when it's gone live, if you will wait just a couple of hours, I will also be posting a spoiler-free review of episode 4. Just a little something to build up the hype before next week. Now, on to the premiere. I know it's a lot to go through, 3 episodes in one go, as opposed to the 1 episode per week, so bear with. I'm going to go sort of sequentially through the episodes, but I'm also going to go by character and just give you my thoughts and opinions. We'll start with Sue. What we see in her newlywed life is this new concept the writers are doing, which is to have her be an influencer. Considering that this is a period piece, I'm pleasantly surprised by how well the writers are doing with critiquing influencer culture. More specifically, the vapid, materialistic side of being an influencer. I'm not trying to bash everyone that can be technically classified as an influencer in contemporary culture, but I feel like there are people who grow large followings online because they have some sort of artistic creativity, and then there are people who grow large followings because they're good at marketing, and more likely than not, they lack integrity. Is that pretentious and judgmental for me to say? Perhaps. Anyway, Sue taking on this influencer storyline has more depth than just her becoming more materialistic. That library conversation with Emily at the end of episode 1 reveals that she lost the baby. I don't know if any other reviewers had let that slip in their season 2 reviews when the press embargo first lifted, but I chose to just keep that to myself. To be safe, I felt like it was better felt on first watch. For Sue, as a character, we can see that she's dealing with it as a traumatic experience, and of course her feelings are more complicated because she already didn't want to have a baby when she first realized she was pregnant. To make matters worse, she isn't talking about it, and that's never good. When you have trauma, you need to work through it, otherwise it's going to fester. She's not doing that. Instead, she's using retail therapy to cope, and she hasn't even talked about it with Austin. We'll get to him, don't worry. By the way, speaking of Sue's retail therapy, when they went to that fair or cattle show, whatever that thing was, I became irrationally angry at her tiny umbrella. What is the purpose of that? It won't shield you from rain if it was raining, and it won't shield you from the sun. So what is the point? I am diligent about applying my SPF before I go outside in any weather, and I've been known to partake in an umbrella or parasol to shield myself from the sun. That's not a stereotype, that's a preventative measure because unprotected exposure to UV rays can give you skin cancer. I couldn't help myself, I had to say something about skincare. Anyway, getting back to Sue's character material, unresolved trauma equals drama. So, buckle up. I can't say anything else about my opinions of her material in these episodes because the rest of my feedback about her season 2 premiere material has to do with spoilers of what happens in later episodes. So, we'll stay quiet on that for now. Austin in these first 3 episodes has a great range of showing you where he's starting and where he's going this season. I know he was public enemy number 1 in season 1, or maybe public enemy number 2. It really just depends on whether or not you disliked Emily's father or her brother more. So many choices. We start season 2 with him being immature and irresponsible. He is swept up in these heart-shaped glasses of being a newlywed. He wants to indulge Sue's every whim. What do you want, sweetie? Daddy will buy it for you. And let's be very clear here. Austin is not daddy. I am referring to his father, the patriarch of the Dickinson family. And I am not shaming any sugar daddies or sugar babies. If you've found one another and are all happy, respectful, and consenting. Go for it, live your life. However, Austin is not cut out to be a sugar daddy. You saw how he got scolded by his father and he didn't even know that the family is in debt. You're meant to be part of the family business, but you clearly don't know what you're doing. And did you notice how after he had that meeting with his father, he immediately said in the next scene that he was zoning out during his talk with his father and he doesn't want to stop spending money on Sue? See how Sue and Austin's combined stories are showing how materialism and consumerism are not the path to true, meaningful happiness. And if you think that that is true, congratulations, you have been brainwashed by capitalism. Now, I don't have an issue with Austin not talking to Sue about the miscarriage because he doesn't know about it. You can't exactly expect him to have a conversation about something that he doesn't know happened in the first place. What I do have an issue with is him asking her if maybe she wants to have a baby. You already talked about this last season. She said she didn't want to have a child, and you agreed. You just wanted to be with her, and that was enough. I don't know if he meant it at the time and now he's changed his mind, or if he just said that with the assumption that she would change her mind because of sexist assumptions that, of course, a woman would eventually want a baby because she's a woman. I don't feel like the show has clearly communicated that either way of where his headspace was at when he said it versus where it is now. However, I'm still annoyed at him for it. Not everyone wants a baby, and pushing someone to have one just because you want one is gross. On a brighter note, I do like that we're starting to see the beginnings of character growth for Austin because it simply would not be practical to have him on the show for all of these episodes if he was never going to evolve as a character. We can also see early on this season that he's not a bad guy, even if he was the foe to the main ship of the show in season 1. In season 2, episode 1, Henry asks about using the barn and Austin says it's totally fine. He also later gives Henry some money simply because he is starting to get sick of the vapid materialism he's become surrounded by, and he wants his money to go to something more meaningful. I find that to be admirable, and I appreciate the larger arc that Austin has this season, but I don't want to delve too much into it just yet because spoilers. We can get into it in future reviews. I like the subplot that Henry is getting this season of wanting to have a secret newspaper and trying to help with an 1800s civil rights movement. The show has always towed the line of being historically accurate and historically anachronistic. If they wanted to go fully anachronistic, they could have done the Bridgerton thing, or at least what I think the Bridgerton thing is based on the pictures that keep ending up on my social media feeds. I haven't actually watched the show at this time of me making this review. I like that they're keeping this more grounded approach to Dickinson season 2 of reminding people that even though we're getting this comedic, whimsical dramedy set in the 1800s, they're going to drop in these little pieces of information from time to time to make us be more educated and socially conscious as viewers. I like that they included a Native American character. Did anyone else know that there were a lot of Native American sailors during that time period? I didn't, but now I know because of Dickinson. The larger state of representation for Native characters in Hollywood is still really bad. They're hardly ever included, but hopefully this can help to plant some seeds for more creatives to remember to include them in their stories and for executives to fund the pitches of Native creatives, whether it's for films or television series. Jumping to the Dickinson parents, that subplot of Father Dickinson taking in those 2 little girls for their inheritance made me super uncomfortable, but it's also accurate. Women or girls with inheritance in the 1800s, forget about it. A sexist nightmare. That's why in Pride and Prejudice, the Bennet girls are not going to be able to inherit their own family home. It has to go to Mr. Collins because he's a man. Good thing the 2 oldest sisters got to marry rich husbands, right? I hate it here. And by here, I mean the 1800s. Mama Dickinson's story gave me so many different emotions because, first of all, the fact that her husband doesn't even want to hook up with her anymore, yikes. She was that excited about an annual hookup and he couldn't even give that to her. Then when she tried to take care of business, she proceeded to hump the bedpost. Hilarious. I screamed. She couldn't even finish because her husband woke up and interrupted her. Girl, why'd you stop? He can watch or he can not. Love yourself enough to finish the job. Speaking of salacious material, Lavinia, my girl, the MVP of this season. Wow. Okay, I would like to hear from the audience. How are we feeling about Mr. Shibley? Now hear me out. I know he says all of the wrong things. Literally have not heard him say a single thing that was worth hearing in the entire premiere. He wants a girl who is pure, simple, quiet, traditional. When it comes to women, he has developed an appreciation for submissiveness, chastity, and a willingness to do household chores. I hate it. I hate all of it. Everything he says is garbage, but if he didn't say all of that garbage, we would never get these snappy comebacks from Lavinia. That face she makes every time he says something stupid, 10 out of 10. When he says that men and women have different biological skill sets, and she goes, what does that have to do with anything? 12 out of 10. Or when he's being all smarmy and talking about how tobacco is so cheap in the South, and she goes, that's because of slavery. Get him, Lavinia. I won't give anything specific away, but there is a lot more coming from these two. The comebacks, the shenanigans, yup. Absolutely. Now let's jump to the new guy, Samuel Bowles. Stylistically speaking, I like how in the first 2 episodes he has these musical entrances that are done in slow motion. They're really vibey and do a good job at setting up this allure and mystique that he has. It feeds into the reputation of him being this big hotshot rolling into town, and he's offering something big to Emily. She can finally get her poems published. Is he all that he seems? What are his intentions? Much to think about. Even in this premiere, you can't really get a read on him. On the one hand, he's encouraging her to create, he wants to publish her poems, and that's not necessarily a given for a publisher in the 1800s. Some publishers don't want to publish women in that time period. But then on the other hand, when she agrees to let him publish her and she gives him a poem, he all of a sudden seems aloof. Oh, it'll go to the top of my pile. What does this mean? What's going on with him? Much to ponder. Mysteries afoot. We'll have a lot more to talk about when it comes to him and we get further into the season, but for now, I'll just keep it to myself. Finally, I had to save the best for last, Emily Dickinson, my dramatic little poet. Did I or did I not tell you we were going to get artistic and weird? She keeps seeing a man that no one else can. Who is he? Is he real? What does he want? Do I have the answers to any of these questions and I'm just not telling you? Anyway, I love Emily Dickinson. She is always so extra and doing the most. That speech she gave when her family was questioning whether or not she could or should be writing after learning about these eye problems she's having, and she responded by saying, I don't need my eyes to see. All I need is my soul. That's what I see the truth with, and the truth can be seen by a blind man, so let me be blind. As long as I have my poetry, I'm not afraid of the dark. I love how intense she is about her creative process, even when she's making a cake for a cake competition. The way she is so frantic to know if the people in her life approve of this thing, and that it's top quality. She's put so much work into it, and then she's listing off this overly detailed list of the ingredients in the preparation process to the judges. That whole energy she has is really vibing with me right now because I'm in the middle of editing a big video essay project that makes me feel exactly how she's acting with all of that. On its own, Emily Dickinson baking a cake might not seem like a particularly interesting storyline. She was a famous poet, not a baker, but ultimately that cake storyline is only a vehicle for the larger commentary that the writers want to communicate. When Emily wins the competition, people all start changing in how they act towards her. They want to suck up to her, they want to speak poorly about the previous year's competition winner. Emily gets to see firsthand just how fickle fame can be. She always wanted to get her poems published, but I don't think she ever gave much thought to the concept of fame. That was much further ahead of anything she was envisioning earlier on in the show's run. And I really enjoyed the way they executed it. It was very thoughtful, and that is also why we have that seance in episode 3. It's a very hyperbolic way of fleshing out Emily's turmoil and indecision about pursuing fame. Eventually, she decides she does want to be famous, but it was a journey for me to get to the point of realizing that I actually really liked the seance episode. I don't think I got it right away. At first, it felt like, well, hardly anything happened plot-wise. She couldn't decide whether or not to be famous, and we already know she will be famous. That's why there is a show about Emily Dickinson in the first place. We know what the end result is going to be. But now that I have watched the episode several times, I really like it. I think it's so refreshing to have this creative way of exploring the inner turmoil of an artist. I like the aesthetics of the episode, from everyone having their hair down, which they hardly ever get to do because it's the 1800s and everyone has to have a bun at all times, apparently. And all of the flower crowns they were wearing, the spookiness of a seance, and the fact that we got the group all together to hang out, have banter, and get into mischief. Also, if anyone would like to send me an environmentally friendly flower crown, please go ahead and do so, because they were really cute and I really like them. I really enjoyed these episodes, and stay tuned because I am going to be posting a spoiler-free review of episode 4 very soon to build up the hype, just like I did for these first episodes. And if you enjoyed this video, please be sure to like and comment, because engagement is essential, especially for small creators like myself. You can also follow me on my social media pages. Everything is in the description box. See you soon in my next Dickinson review. Bye!